I always have a fear that we talk about love as an ideal rather than something we practice on daily basis. Now, I have to admit that living in the United States, I learned from my evangelical friends the importance of loving your neighbor. Then I went looking for it in the Quran. This is truly what happened. As a matter of fact, one time I was so intrigued with the idea, I went on our short street and knocked on everybody's door and asked them, do you love your neighbor? Oh, of course we do. How do you love your neighbors? Huh? Nobody had an answer. And they really had a hard time explaining how they practice loving their neighbors. From that day on, I thought, if I'm going to talk about love, I need to have it within context.
You have to attend to the individual needs of persons in their context. And as Safi says as well, Kierkegaard said himself as well, Christianity is not a doctrine, it's a way of living in the world. And you have to be sensitive to the individual needs and wants of others. And one way, this may sound odd, but I would say in a daily life one tries to love the neighbor, is not to always treat the neighbor justly. And indeed, hope that the neighbor always doesn't treat one justly. Meaning, I don't think love falls below justice and gives less than is due, but I think just a general attitude of recognizing that we're all sinful, we're all guilty, and if we were all treated with strict justice, we'd all be doomed. And patience, forbearance, mercy, attention to the needs that may be idiosyncratic. But I have mentioned that I realized the title of this conference is Virtuous Character and Common Visions, Shared Values. But I do think that the flip side of that is equally important. You know, call it common vices, or vicious character, common vices, shared sins, in that one of the things that is the tie that binds, I think, makes us stand in solidarity is the recognition that we're all sinners, we're all mortal, and no matter how faithful and loving we may be, however much God loves us, we will all die. And a sort of solidarity in sin, recognizing that all traditions, all religious texts have texts of terror that can be expressions of hatred. And I give thanks every day that my neighbors don't simply equate Christianity with the Deutsche Christen of the Nazi church, or don't simply equate Christianity with the Ku Klux Klan and, you know, Aryan supremacists today. And we can't treat Islam that way, as though it's somehow fixed jihadist, end of story. What made Osama bin Laden so dangerous was that he would read the word infidel in the Quran to be any non-Muslim in a very narrow sense, misreading what the Prophet says and the solidarity of the religions of the book, at least in the Quran. And of course, in turn, what's dangerous about the KKK is they would read Christianity to be this exclusive, very narrow, very tribal, if you're certainly talking about the Deutsche Christen in Nazi Germany, racially based narrow group that's exclusive. If you can believe with the Deutsche Christians that Jesus was Aryan, as many of them argued, you'll believe anything. But it's so radically false as to be laughable. Yeah. One last comment on this front. On Thursday, I visited the Anne Frank house. I'd been there years ago, but went back. And at the end, you may know, they invite you to offer a comment about your experience. And I was moved to write that Anne Frank was killed because she was a Jew, clearly. But it's important to remember that she died also as a Jew. Meaning by that, you look at the diary, and the most powerful moment in it, it seems to me, is when she faces her own death, hoping that the unjust suffering of the Jews will be redemptive for the entire world. Where she says, maybe, you know, after this war is over, maybe the world will see the suffering of the Jews as a meaningful testimony to love from God to the entire world. That's the essence of Judaism. That's Christ on the cross. That's the prophet's message. That's the tie that binds, it seems to me.
We're not here accidentally. We are here on a planet that was prepared in advance for us to flourish here. So we are here by design. We are here because of intelligent design. And we're going to depart from here based on that same plan, you know. So we need to take all that very seriously. And we need to be always thankful because we have a loving God who prepared this planet for us, who made oxygen plentiful, who made carbon plentiful, you know, all of this. I try to say all this. Then I try to say also that we received as individuals the greatest gift from our loving God, consciousness and the ability to choose. We are the only creature who has that, the ability to choose. This is, see, by giving us the ability to choose, he made us free. We are not forced to love anybody. We're not forced to love him or be appreciative of his gift.